Okay, so more of the technical end of things. So there's this expert that works for the government that says like modern cell phone technology makes it difficult to crack into phones. But here's the thing. A lot of our mobile operating systems have this thing, particularly Android is where I'm thinking of, is that after the first boot, like it keeps all your data at rest, and then you have to unlock it in order to basically decrypt and open everything up. After you've done that, you've got somewhat free reign of the phone itself, depending on your default settings. So if I were to take my phone running Calyx OS, for example, the default settings on it is to basically not do anything and just charge the phone if I plug it into a computer. I literally have to go in and tell it, hey, I want to share files. I want to use my phone as a webcam. I want to do this, that, and the other with my phone when I connect it to this particular PC at this moment in time. After that, it basically resets that default setting, or I can switch it back to just, charging only or whatever. And that's where kind of, depending on whether the shooter had rebooted his phone and reset it, it would do these different things. And I think by default, a lot of the Android stuff, like particularly Google's fresh off the mill, Android will default to file sharing, because most people, when they plug their phone into their computer, they're going to want to pull the photos off onto their computer and go from there. So actually, let me go through that. Okay, so let's hope I can do this well and one-handed somewhat. So I've got this phone with Graphene OS set up on it, and Graphene OS obviously has sensible defaults, but if I plug it in, you see it turns on, and that's about it. You might see the Pixel 5 show up there, but I can't quite access it. So if I try to go in and access it, it does nothing. Nothing at all. And that's mostly because for a couple of reasons. So if I go in and I try to unlock it, you see that the pin comes up. So the device is set to restart after so many times. So it'll come up, it'll let it in. So you see the MTP error happens and so on and so forth. We can't really access it. So we cancel, okay. And now we can go in and nothing still comes up. So you can see that it's charging device. That's what it comes up as. And that's pretty sensible. So let's go over the settings real quick of this one. So if we go in, we can go, where was it? Security. Auto reboot is set to 18 hours. So Calyx has the same setting, but it's set to off by default, so automatically reboots the device if it hasn't been unlocked within the selected duration of time. So that's one setting that basically puts your data at rest after so many hours. And depending on if the shooter had that available, it would have done that automatically. But I doubt that was the case in this case. So this is like, there are a lot of defaults that go into this that depend on, okay, what are the settings in here that are going along with it. So after that, you can see that if we pull this down, we can go devices, charging device via USB. We've got our same settings again. We have our sensible defaults of no data transfer and of file transfer. So if we go in and file transfer this time, because we are in full control now, we can go in now and we can access the internal storage and everything else with it. I turn off no data transfer and it restricts it. So if you've got a sensibly default setting here, then you're going to be fine. You can't access anything on here. Now, are there other forensic tools that have the possibility of making this quite a bit different? Yeah, there are. Oh, would it could be different with certain forensics tools, but in general, if you've got yourself a good setup going, you're not going to worry about it as much because you've already pre-prepared for your privacy in mind. So, and yes, that makes it harder, but in a lot of ways, oh, it makes it easier for you, but if you've got someone that is doing something illegal, it does make it harder to get more information on them. So what we end up with is that game of cat and mouse again, where you either have someone that's a little bit smarter and knows what they're doing, or someone that doesn't quite know what they're doing. So this guy here is talking about how most modern operating systems for mobile have the two major ones have more intrinsic settings that automatically encrypt things and make it harder to get into devices that way. So shared the roadblock investigators may be encountering. So it doesn't say that it's a may be encountering when trying to access this phone. So they had not been able to get in. Let's see, today, criminal investigators just inherently require the access of the use of these digital devices. So again, the technology is there, but there are some other hurdles that are brought up in this particular article that kind of like seem like a scapegoat and seem like an excuse to like give us a back door when Apple and Google already have a back door into everything. The problem comes with trying to break into a device, he said. Getting into an encrypted, locked device in today's age is incredibly difficult. Certain companies like Apple can get into any of these devices. He said gaining access to Crook's locked phone would require that U.S. agencies get the help of foreign adversaries or foreign nation-state people. So not necessarily. You've got people stateside that can get into it, and many like contractors are able to get into it because of security vulnerabilities. As mentioned, when your data isn't at rest with your phone, you can get into the phone without thinking about it. And it doesn't require that much to do. But if you have your device properly secured, then yes, it would make it difficult to get in. But in this case, I think, but even then, if you're syncing stuff up, it doesn't matter because your device is syncing with a cloud service that is not under your control. And so your phone becomes a vector of vulnerability and giving away information. Are there parts of the government where you can probably get into certain phones? Absolutely, but that involves non-US citizens outside the continental United States. Absolutely untrue. Just look at the NSA stuff that's going on. Okay, you don't need any more backdoors. You've already got them built into things like even desktop computers at this point through the guise of Microsoft and things like that. You issue a subpoena and they will give you that information willy-nilly. You don't even have to issue a subpoena in reality because a lot of these tech companies will just give agencies like this the information just by them asking for it in a lot of cases. Talking high-level spy games. Okay, this is a 20-year-old that, as I mentioned already last time, should have had no way of getting to where he did and somehow outsmarting federal agencies. I don't see him having like that high-level spy games. And I'm not even playing high-level spy games. And my phone is a little bit better than what he probably has, in all honesty. Those are not tools that will be used by civilian law enforcement here in the United States. Well, a lot of them may be open source, actually, and available freely on the internet. But anyway, in a lot of cases, some very effective tools to do some of these things are available freely on the internet that lets you get in. So, like, decrypt Android and oh wait, access locked Android phone with PC. Okay. Using Android Device Manager, using ADB commands, using broken Android data extraction, using Android unlock, using on-the-go cable and mouse, things like that. So yeah, you can go see Google has that information. All they had to do was ask Google. Let's see, ADB. So you connect it via USB. You do like this one. Oh my goodness. Using broken Android data extraction. These look like tools that are easily available. So like if I can find it with one quick search and find it on some dumb blog post, why are federal agencies unable to do it? Okay, see, look, right here. That's pretty cool. So you're telling me you have to play these cat and mouse games, like, really easily? A catch-22. Depending on the level of encryption the phone has, they might be able to get into it, which is a catch-22. We all have the... So, the thing is, the person commits crime. Where you're saying all of a sudden, like, the FBI is arguing for rights and protections when they have been violating those rights and protections for people that were trespassing on federal property otherwise. So you have a right right to privacy and a right to be safe and secure in your person under the Fourth Amendment, which is violated in some cases depending on who's doing what. Now, there are certain things where it's like, okay, I have a reasonable suspicion that I should have access to this, and you can, if you've got reasonable suspicion, then there's a certain level of carte blanche ability to search through things, like for a police stop. If he has very reasonable suspicion that you have something you shouldn't, then you can be arrested. If you are arrested by a police officer, then you have the ability to, then they have the ability to go through and search your vehicle because of something that you did. I think there are certain cases where they can detain you and then search through your stuff because you've already committed a crime and yada, yada, yada. So, indicates he acted alone. So they have since gained access to his phone. And yeah, it's behind a paywall, and I am not doing that. Again, like, how hard is it to get access to the phone? I don't know. So they've also gone in and found Discord records and things like that, talked to classmates and things like, and all that. So a lot of the technical stuff I feel like is merely just a small hurdle that they postponed on getting into. They just collected everything, which makes sense. You collect everything that you can and then go through it and grab things or try and grab things, open things up, unlock things to extract information from it. So it's really down to gathering things. It's not so much, oh, we can't do it. It's going to be really, really hard to, or we can't do it because of this thing or that thing. It's like the dude already forfeited many of his rights and due to trying to take someone's life. And now you're saying you can't do that because of it in certain because of a certain situation. We've seen carte blanche, like sweeping, we've got everything on this thing and this, that, and the other right away in certain cases, and in other cases where it hasn't been quite so quick. But that's all there is to it. Like, technical things aside, like phone demonstrations aside, even showing off that, like, oh, my phone can be accessed if I give it permission, or this, that, and the other, it's still like one small thing in the whole like thing. Doesn't mean that like, oh, it's going to be really easy to access the phone because of it. It could be a little bit tougher, but being as there are tools readily available that let you do that thing, carte blanche, it seems like they're beating around the bush a little bit when it comes to this stuff. And yeah, so keep your phone security settings and privacy down, because you want to make it harder for as an innocent person, you want to make it harder for people to investigate you for no reason. So therefore, pick your right mobile operating system, make sure that it has sensible settings, or that you set up sensible settings on it, and that if you want just the out-of-box experience, there are sensible defaults, and so on and so forth. Like, subscribe, check out links and stuff, and I'll see you guys later.